Hey, everybody, we're just gonna kind of wait and be sure everybody's on here before we get started. We got six. Let me come and go ahead and go through the attendance thing, mark everybody off. Got Keegan. I've got Chris. I've got Felicity. I've got Carter. Madison. All right, that's it so far. Still waiting on four more. Be a little patient, but I don't want to make everybody wait. Anyways. Yeah, I don't want to wait anymore. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. So obviously I am your professor for this course, Lauren Yost. I don't have a PhD. I only have an extended master's degree. I was getting a PhD and dropped out. It's a long story, and I'm sure I'll tell it to you someday, but um I mostly work in industry before this, and then I came here to teach. And here I am. So yeah, you guys can call me Professor Yost, or I don't know. I'm not a doctor, basically is what I'm trying to say. So yeah. You guys have any questions? If you guys have any questions in any of this presentation or any other like Zoom meeting that we have, I talk, man. It's like I invented it. So feel free to interrupt me at any time. It's not rude, I promise. And I will forgive you, because I can't imagine who else you would get a word in edgewise, especially on here. So you can use the chat or you can just talk to me. It's fine. I don't care. But we're going to do this on Zoom today, tomorrow, and I'll post an announcement just to remind everybody. But tomorrow's will be on Zoom as well. We just don't have nothing is safe on this in this building right now. So okay, but yeah, let's get into it. Let me share this. Yes, I did screen share. Okay, I'm already sharing it. Oh, shoot. Yeah, okay. All right, so we'll start off with going over like Canvas and like where you can find everything on Canvas and all that sort of stuff. This is like your main homepage if you log into the course on Canvas. Of course, this is what you would see. No big surprise there. I guess I shouldn't have to tell most of you guys that because you found out, to be here at this time, but your announcements are here right up front in the front of it all. That's always where I'm going to post anything. So if I change any sort of, amount of points that something is, or I move it to a different day, or if we postpone something, it's all going to be in the announcements always. So be sure that gets sent as a notification to your OK State email, or at least it should be. Be sure that you have notifications turned on for Canvas, and be sure that you're checking your email, all that. Otherwise, you're not going to get any announcements. I've had students come to me before and be like, well, I don't check my OK State email. So how am I supposed to know that I'm supposed to be here at this time? It's your responsibility. It's not my responsibility if you don't show up to be like, oh no, Georgie didn't make it. And I call you up on your cell and be like, hey buddy, it's not happening. So check your announcements. Cool. I'm clicking, oh, right, there we go. Okay, the little to-do guy over here on the side. Of course, if you're not familiar with that, but I feel like some people seem to think that I would think that you are not familiar with that, which is, if you don't know what I'm saying is basically like people who forget to do their assignments will say, oh, I didn't know it was due on that day. Well, you did, because Canvas tells you that. But just to be clear, guys, Canvas tells you that it was due. And it tells you that here, and it tells you that in several other places on Canvas. But hey, this is one place that you can look at your to-do list for this course in order of when it's going to be due. And you can see on there already, we have, I believe it's hard for me to see this because I'm opening the same one as you guys, but yes. June 5th at 10 a.m. is our first one. So you don't even have anything due until then. But you're, of course, more than welcome to get started on whatever you like. So also, they're doing work on this building right now. So if you hear loud noises or whatever, sorry. Yay. Okay. All right. Let's next thing. All right. So all this stuff on the left side over here, we have the syllabus. We're going to go over it in a moment. But that's going to be every requirement and the schedule for the course. The assignments, we're going to talk about what they are and how to find them and what to do and everything, and the modules, which is probably one of the more important things for the hybrid course. Kind of lays everything out, but yeah. One other thing, which is the course materials, which is supposed to be where you can get onto the lab stuff. Now, if you've tried to get on Top Hat, which is our lab, number one, first of all, you're supposed to be going through course materials. And it's supposed to connect you to Top Hat so you can actually sign in and access it that way. It is not doing that for some reason. It did for some of my students. I don't know why, but not others. So you are probably going to have a problem signing into it. I'm aware of the problem. I have emailed Top Hat, and so has the bookstore. So we are communicating with them. They don't seem to be in a particular hurry to get back to us. So hang tight. I will update you if there are updates. So that's all I have right now on Top Hat. If you can't log in, if you haven't tried to log in, you can try to. It might work for you. You might be one of the lucky ones. So I don't understand it. It was a load of nonsense last semester too. So whatever. All right. So there's announcements that are in the middle of the page. You can open up the announcements area over on Canvas on the left, and it'll have all of the announcements that you've ever had in the course. These are the ones that you'll start out with. Welcome to microbiology is just a rundown of everything. Missing units tells you what you need to be doing in order to open Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, and Unit 4 content. So you can start working on the lecture stuff. I'll run over it too, so don't worry about it. We have all exams will be in person. So FYI, in case you didn't pick up on that one, all exams are going to be in person. You'll be, when we have an exam, bringing your personal laptops or your tablets to the lab where we will normally be having class, and bring it in there on that day at the lab time, which you would normally should be there anyways. And that will be a lecture exam that day on the schedule. So when you have questions about it in the future, which you might, but right now we don't have a test coming up until the 11th. Yeah, we can talk about it more then if you want to, but yeah, it's going to be in person. It is not ProctorU. I hate ProctorU. I can't tell you how much I hate it. So we use Lockdown, which is not a whole lot better. It has its own problems, different problems. But you will be here during the day when, if you have problems, I can send you to the testing center. And it's a lot easier to let them deal with it than it is to deal with ProctorU or to deal with it trying to force our way through it on the computers or whatever. So, and most of you I know will agree with me. So, that's how our tests will be, and we will not have lab on lecture exam days because of that. So I figured nobody likes that anyway. So yay. Zoom, it says Zoom, all sections. We will have many instances throughout the semester where you need to use Zoom. And there's the link. So if you need to find it again, you can just look for Zoom in the announcements. Same link, same place. It's going to come take you. It's always going to be this room. I just have one open for always pretty much. And then we just come and go as we need to in the Zoom room. Just so that, if you guys wanted to meet on that Zoom link whenever I'm not using it, then you would be more than welcome to. It will record whatever you do in that session, and then you could let me know about it, and I can post it for you if that is something that you want. So just let me know. All right, text lab manual access. That's going to talk about what I just told you about with the lab manual. The text, though, the textbook is McGraw-Hill. That should work just fine. So that should be through course materials. There's no, if you're like, oh, where are all the chapter review stuff for, you say it's McGraw-Hill, so where's all the chapter where you read it and then you answer the little questions a million times until you get 100 out of 100 and you wish you were dead, and it takes 30 minutes to 8 hours depending on what professor you have and whatever. I don't do that in my course anymore because I think it's a waste of time. So you don't have any assignments in my course on McGraw-Hill. It is just for your text, and there are some like study materials on there that you can access that I will recommend later on. But yeah, so I don't know. You don't have all that. Okay. If you click on the syllabus link in Canvas on the left side, it'll take you to this page. It's got some brief information about how to contact me. In the summer, I am not available on office hours. In the summer, I am kind of just here or not. So if you want to talk to me, then be sure you grab me after lab or email me and set up a time in a day, and we can work that out. Otherwise, I don't really answer my office phone, but if you leave a message, it emails me the voicemail, so I will get it. And what else? Yeah, then if you scroll down, you can actually get the downloadable version of the schedule and the syllabus. And if you scroll down even more, then you see the syllabus there. So it'll pop up on there. So that's how you can access the syllabus. We're going to go over it though. So I'm just going to go over the parts that are kind of important. So how we are instructing in this class, and then the evaluation techniques and grades and stuff. Okay. So starting off up here, if you want to follow along, instruction methods, we have the online classroom, which is whatever's on Canvas. Everything that you should need for the course should be there already, other than the exams. They don't open until exam day. Online pre-recorded lectures are there. If you've been having a hard time to find them, that's because they're in modules. We'll go over that soon. Kahoots. If you haven't used Kahoot before, it's actually pretty fun, and it's a lot more fun to do it with the group than it is by yourself. But it's just a little online quizzing platform for the content, and it shouldn't cost you anything. You should be able to just click on the link, which I'll show you in a moment. And it'll just take you to the page. You enter in a little name and go through the questions. So it shouldn't be difficult. Laboratory stuff, obviously that's going very well right now. We work with live bacteria in our lab, and always, every day, will be lab bacteria. It's not ever going to be days where we don't work with it. It's not like a one-time bacteria experiment. Everything is bacteria all the time. So be aware of that. Bacteria are everywhere, sure, but I mean, like, we're growing them in large amounts. So it's gross, is basically what I'm saying. So be sure you have a lab coat. Don't wear closed-toed shoes. If you spill culture on your feet and you didn't have closed-toed shoes on, I mean, gross, right? So it potentially could cause infection. Most of these are non-pathogenic strains, I mean, they shouldn't be causing any disease, but if you have some sort of immune system issues, it could be a problem, or you could bring it home to your baby and then they're sick, you know? So it's like, just like, don't. But yeah, that's kind of what that's about. We'll talk about lab safety and everything in the next talk. So Zoom, like I said, the next lab, quote unquote, it's going to be about lab safety, and like microbes are everywhere. Those are, we're going to do that tomorrow on Zoom again. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, but we'll go over that. So be sure you have read up on your lab safety rules before you come to lab that day. Now I will say this, before you come to lab, before you come to the Zoom thing. Obviously you don't have to wear your lab coat and your closed-toed shoes to the Zoom thing, obviously, but read up on it so that you know what I'll be talking about. And so, whenever we do finally go to lab, and I mean, I don't know yet really when that's going to be, but I'm hoping next week. I will let you know in an announcement. But yeah, hopefully when we go back to lab, you'll be prepared and it won't be any big old thing. But yeah, you want to see how the lab is set up and what to expect there. That video, the lab video that's on Canvas can show you that. So, but whatever. So recording and posting material. All right. So you're not technically allowed to record or post anything that I am doing the whole time. Just FYI, that's a rule. I didn't make it. All right. So next thing, let's go to evaluation techniques, because attendance. Okay. So I do take attendance for everything, basically. Sometimes it's going to be a big deal and sometimes it's not. Like today, I'm taking everybody's attendance just to be sure that we have everybody. Looking for Rachel. Now that we're going. I don't see her, but okay. Yeah, I'm trying to keep attendance because I don't know how long we're going to be out of the lab. But the in-lab stuff, I'm supposed to be keeping attendance on lab in general, and this does count. But we can have 5 absences. The 6th one, you get an F. That's not my policy. That's the department policy. So you can have 5 absences, whether it's, a car wreck, or your baby is sick, or you're sick, or you accidentally didn't make it to class. I don't know, but it doesn't matter what the reason at all. Like you can have a serious car accident and break your femur and not be able to come in for a whole entire week and miss week or 2 weeks and have surgery and all of this, and then come back and be like, hey, I'm back. It doesn't matter the reason. You still have to have put in the time in the lab work. And so that's the problem with that. So you can never make up the absence ever. But if you happened to have an absence for a redeemable reason, or what we would say, you can actually validate what you're saying. Like you went to the doctor and you brought me the doctor note or something like that. Then I might consider letting you make up the points, right? That's a different thing. But you still eat the absence. Okay. If you have something coming up, like a wedding or anything like that, it's kind of hard for you guys because I have another lab before you. But if you had, like, let's say a interview at noon, and so you had to miss lab, you could come to the 10 a.m. one and do that one instead. So that's kind of like making up an absence ahead of time, right? So you could do something like that. Or if like you have a wedding coming up, then, I'm still going to count the absence, but you can make up the points. So that counts for things. You let me know ahead of time if you know it, or if you had something actually happen, and we'll talk about it. So that's kind of my makeup policy there. But most of the time, if it's just general, you didn't make it, or you don't have like a valid excuse, then I'm not going to let you make a thing up. Just FYI. Right. Let's go on to evaluation techniques. Chapter quizzes. It's literally just 10 question multiple choice quizzes at the end of the chapter. It's open book. Use whatever you like, but it is timed. So 15 minutes. So once you start it, you have to finish it within 15 minutes. Don't walk away and go cook your food, or don't try to tell me that you walked away to go cook your food. Don't do it. Basically, just so you know. You've been warned. So use your notes or whatever you need to search them. You guys know that you can open up the PowerPoint file and like actually use the search function to search for terms in there and actually answer the question that way. So you have to look through all of the notes. That'd be a waste of your time. So use those. And we'll go over the study sheet in a moment, but the study sheet is probably the better place to go to. So then we have the chapter activities. Those are based on the Kahoots. Go to Kahoot, do the Kahoot quiz, screenshot your ending. I don't care what your score is. And if you're running late and you see it is due and you forgot to do it, just go through it really quick and take a screenshot of you getting a 0. And then, post that. Just post something, okay? That's all I'm saying. We'll get participation points. I don't actually read what your score is. That's for you really more than anything, so that you'll do it. You get points, they're a cushion. Then we have the disease presentation. We'll come back to it, I promise. The lecture exams, they are all multiple choice. They're 50, the first 3 are 50 questions. Unit 1 and 2. So Unit 2, what I'm saying is it is comprehensive, okay? There is a reason for that. And we'll go over it more when we get closer to it. But Unit 1, people are not prepared for the exams in this class. Try as I might. So Unit 2 gives the opportunity, potentially, to redeem yourself. And we will talk about that later when it comes to the time. But we're not going to do it right now because I just don't have the time to do it now. Lecture exam. So yeah, so it's still going to be 50 questions for the Unit 1, 2, and 3. And then they're all multiple choice. And they're all going to be on the computer, lockdown browser, like I was saying. And then the final is 100 questions. And I mean, I had the final nobody went over the hour and 15-minute time of the course at all, like came close to it. Everybody was done well before that. So that's what my point is. So don't think that 100 questions is a lot. If you are prepared and you actually understand the material and you actually learned it the way you were supposed to, it'll be easy. So it won't take any time at all. No worries there. So that's the exams, lab manual exercises. Those are all on Top Hat. They're just like 4 or 5 questions about the material that you're going to be learning in the lab, and all that material is in the lab manuals, which are digital in Top Hat, where the questions are. The in-lab participation, that is a worksheet that we have in the lab that you guys will fill out at the end of the lab and submit that on Top Hat, which is working just beautifully, right? And then we have post-lab quizzes. That's the same kind of deal as the chapter ones, just 5 questions though. And it's 10 minutes. Everybody's well on them. It's fine. And then we have unknown lab report. We'll get to that. So it's another special assignment, like the disease presentation in the lecture. Lecture, special assignment, disease presentation. Lab, special assignment, lab report. Okay. And then we have the lab exams. So we have a midterm and a final for the lab. And then we have extra credit available. We have a lab extra credit. We have a lecture extra credit. And then we have the course evals, where you tell us how much you hate our class. So that's where all of my extra comes from. We have a cap at 3% in the entire division or school of STEM now. Just FYI. So I can't, that's it. So, don't ask for more extra credit. You're not going to have more extra credit. No, you're not going to curve. No, like this is it. So, yeah. I'm trying to think of this. I feel like there's something saying. I guess I could say that the lecture extra credit is like you write questions, 5 questions about short answer questions with answers about the material from the chapter. So, it would be like 5 questions about chapters 1 and 3, and then, whatever it is, whatever it says. But in your own words, in your own thought processes and all that. People seem to think that it's a good idea to try to submit to me their extra credit questions as written by ChatGPT. AI is not allowed in this class for that sort of stuff. If you have to turn in an assignment, that assignment cannot be written by AI. That's what I'm telling you. If you needed to use AI to do a research portion of an assignment and then put it in your own words, that's fine. I have no problem with it, but you will not give me work made by an AI. And yes, I do sometimes know Don't always know, but I do sometimes know, because if somebody gives me their extra credit questions written on bacterial metabolism, and they tell me all about all the different chemical steps in the Krebs cycle, and we didn't learn that in our class at all, I'm gonna be looking at you. All right. So don't do it. Don't do it. Just get your stuff from the PowerPoints and from the study sheet. Okay. Your study sheet should be your gold, honestly. For the lab, extra credits, by the way, when you do a lab, you can write a summary about your lab experience, what you're supposed to have learned in the lab, and then submit that for extra credits. So that means an actual summary of what you learned and what we talked about in the lab. Learning about gram stains, which we will, and you're writing to me, today we put bacteria on glass slides and looked at them in the microscope. They looked different colors, and that's all you send me. I'm giving you a 0. So you should be able to explain to me what stains you use, why we use those stains, how they worked, because that's the stuff I'm going to test you over, y'all. So send me the summaries about the stuff I'm going to test you over. Write it in your own words. That's all it is. It's not meant to be rocket science. Write me what you're supposed to learn. If you want your extra credit. All right, so moving on to grading, you will notice here that we have unit exam here, we have unit 2 exam here, and unit 3 exam here. They're all 7% each, right? All of your chapter quizzes combined are 6% of your grade. So this is starting to put it into perspective a little bit, how important the exams are, yes. The lab midterm itself, 7%. The lab final itself, 10%. And the biggest big daddy of them all, the one that is the most important in the whole course, your lecture final, 15% of your grade. Now, all of the lecture exams sum together. Gosh, I think it's, sorry, I'm trying to move this. Yeah, 36% of your grade, okay? The lecture exams plus the lab midterms, so the exams, all of the exams in both areas, 53% of your grade, okay? Exams are there to show me that you actually learned and carried with you the material that you're supposed to learn and carry with you in this course. If you cannot pass the exams and prove to me that you have learned and carried with you the material that we're supposed to learn and carry with us in the course, I'm not going to pass you in my class. So that's pretty much what that's about. So that's why it's worth so much of your grade, but it's also why it's not worth all of your grade, because I am giving padding. It's just, I'm not going to have you pass based on padding. Come on. You're supposed to learn something in this course, not just show up and get an A. So I'm here to teach you microbiology, and I'm going to, so get ready. But yeah, so I take that part of my job a little bit seriously as well. I think I should, especially since for a lot of people, not all of you, of course, most of my students are nursing students, and they're going to nursing, usually right after my class, or going to physiology and then going to nursing. So it's following up right from here. And I want to be sure that you not only have learned what you're supposed to from my class, but also that you know how to learn. And maybe that sounds like a joke to you, but I think that it won't when this class gets going. So, but yeah, I'm not talking about studying and memorizing. I'm talking about learning. So yeah, no ChatGPT. Makeup policy, you need to be talking with me. We might be able to work around it, but you also might get denied making something up. Okay, it's at my discretion. And that means that if I told your friend they could make it up and not you, and it was the same story, I don't care, is what it means. So just FYI. Makeup policy. Okay, syllabus modification, whatever. If I change it, I have to let you know. That's a syllabus modification. Technology requirement, just be sure you can have access to Kahoot, basically, and for Lockdown browser. It's really all you need for this class. Cool. All right, so then at the bottom there, we have these dates. It's the dates of everything that's going to be due. So that might be a great place to look at if you want to look at all at once, kind of when everything's going to be due. So that's all there. And I will let you know if any of those dates need to change through announcements. Then we have schedules. This is the lecture schedule. This is mostly suggested because here we might have exam 1. Notice it is on June 11th, right? So be aware of that. It goes fast on the 8-week course, okay? Very fast. The next one is going to be after this. There it is. This is the lecture, and that's the lab. Oh, that's review. Okay, sorry. It's hard for me to read it on my screen is tiny. Anyways, yeah, so around there. So 625, whatever. I'm not going to pick out all of them. I think, oh, the next one has it. Never mind. I was smart enough and I did it ahead of time. There you go. Whatever. So there's the exam dates suggested. You're supposed to have chapter 1, 3, 2, 4, 5, and 7 in your mind, understood, completely taken care of with your grades and everything by 6/11. Midnight before 6/11, so midnight of 6/10. All the stuff associated with 1, 3, 2, 4, 5, and 7 are due. It's on you to spread it out however you like. This is a suggested model is what I'm saying, okay? But it's all due before the exam that is associated with it. Make sense? There's a lot of the stuff in the online course. It's true of a lot of the stuff that you'll turn in. For the labs, the pre-labs are always due right before the lab. However, pretty much everything else, midnight before the lab exam, the next lab exam, which is the midterm, which is a little ways away. So 6/27, it looks like. But yeah, so it's all there outlined when it's due, what's going on each time, all that. I've had questions from my previous class, because I have a class right before you guys. They asked about worksheets for the lab, and like what worksheets are supposed to have printed out for each lab. None. Okay. I think that's a waste of paper. So what I do is I have worksheets of 24, because I can have up to 24 students in my lab. 24 worksheets, and I have little plastic sleeves, like envelopes that I put them into, and then you dry erase marker on it. You take a picture of it, and then you upload that for your grade, for your in-lab participation. You don't have to print anything, okay? So that's what you'll be doing. So don't worry about that. If I need you to have a worksheet, and there might be times like that where it'll say on the schedule worksheet, right? I'll also send an announcement to you saying what worksheet you need to do. I'll usually tell you how to find it on Canvas and stuff like that. So don't worry, I got you. Hopefully we'll be able to pick up with this lab stuff soon. I'm hoping next week. But yeah, there's the lab stuff. The to-do list, we kind of already talked about this, but it's on the right. It has everything that is coming up. We also have the assignments. You can have them shown by date, but if you want to, you can also have it shown by type. So date is pretty much what you see in the to-do list, but all of it shown by type, it will organize it based on like chapter activities or lecture quizzes or whatever. And you can go find all the lecture quizzes and just knock them all out or whatever you want to. So you can organize it both ways. All right, so let's go over those special assignments. Remember, I said there's a special assignment for a lecture. That's going to be the disease presentation, and a special assignment for the lab. That's going to be the unknown project. Okay, so for lecture, the disease presentation, there will be a time coming up, not too far from now, where you will be allowed to sign up for a disease to give a presentation on. Unit 4 is all presentations and talks about diseases, different diseases. And I usually talk about all the diseases myself. But in my traditional classes, which you are not in, you're in hybrid, traditional classes, I will have them present their stuff in person instead of me. So if I was going to talk about tetanus and the bacteria that causes tetanus, then if so-and-so, which is, I'm going to show you, let's say one of my favorite students in the past, Paula Schwartz, Schwab, I even said it wrong. I was really definitely one of my favorites then, right? She did a presentation over tetanus. So Paula Schwab, and she's now actually a student at the vet school, like as a vet, not a vet tech. So she is doing that at OSU Stillwater. So it's pretty neat. So she's doing good, but yeah, she would present about tetanus, and I would not present about tetanus. I won't talk about it at all. So it's dependent on the students to teach that little topic that I will not be any longer teaching about. So that's what this was. That's what this is. You guys are still going to do that, just a little bit differently. So you'll choose your disease. You'll make a PowerPoint slide presentation, including this information over here, and then put that in your slides. And that's all that needs to be in the slides. I will grade that. And then after that's been graded and sent back to you, you will use that information and the critique to record a video, and then I will play that video in the lab while everybody's doing their lab stuff, because we don't have time to do it any other time, unfortunately, but that's how that's going to go. So you'll be able to click on in that disease presentation thing, some examples, the tetanus one that Paula did, and then there's also a Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease one. That was pretty good. But yeah, we don't have that one open yet, but that's what it will be. This is the tetanus presentation, the entire thing. So it's only 12 slides. It maybe took 5 minutes to give. It doesn't have to have this many words, or it could have more pictures, or it could have music, whatever you want to make it more entertaining, but it has to definitely have that information at minimum. If you can fit that all on one slide, y'all, go do it. Okay. The unknown lab project, typically this is going to start with our first lab stuff, which would be on Wednesday. That's like our real lab stuff. And then our results that we're getting from every experiment from Wednesday onward apply to this unknown lab project. All of those results get saved, and we'll record them and put them into a big table that I'm going to show you. And then you use that information to determine what your organism is at your table. And you're like, what organism? Yeah, I'm going to give you 2 bacterial organisms. One is going to be gram positive and one is going to be gram negative. I know that doesn't mean anything to you right now, but I guarantee you by the end of the semester, you will know what gram positive and gram negative are, because that is the bread and butter of bacteriology. So you'll have one of each, and you'll just write down your results from all the tests that we do and use whether it turned this color or was this color or da 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 da. And then use a little chart that I have and determine what your organism is. Is it Escherichia coli or E. coli? Is it Staphylococcus aureus? Is it Streptococcus pyogenes? Is it whatever? And you'll identify it using that information. And then you'll answer some questions about it, which are what these other pages are about. And then you'll answer some questions about an assigned organism, which I'll just give you the name of an organism. Let's say Bacillus anthracis, which causes anthrax. And you'll go in there and say, what tests are important to identify this organism? And you'll just look it up online. That's fine. Normal environment of this organism is in the soil typically, and diseases or uses of anthrax, whatever. So also bioterrorism weapon. So you could go through that and answer all that from what you Google online. And that's fine. Just use reliable sources and write it in your own words. Show me that you can look up information on your own, because so much of this is done with your group, with your table. I don't want people relying on their table, and it happens all the time. So I need to see that people can do their work on their own. And then the last thing is going over 2 tests that we're going to learn about in class and explaining them in your own words. All right. So we'll get to those. Those aren't a thing right now. They get more important a little bit later in the semester. Modules. When you click the word modules on the left side on Canvas, this is what it'll bring you to. You'll notice the first one that we have is the first up module. It has just resources, as well as we have the course syllabus, the syllabus quiz. Yeah, so we'll have a syllabus quiz. I forgot about the integrity statement. And the summer schedule. So that's all there. Then we have lab info with the lab safety document and all that, and all that stuff. So whatever, this is cool. I don't need to go over that, but you get it. So you have to complete all of these items here. These 3, the integrity statement, the syllabus quiz, and the lab safety document, are the required documents that you have to complete here. There's these little tiny circles out at the side. Yours will have them. And if you complete them, those will get marked off. And you have to complete and have those all 3 marked off in order to even open up Unit 1 module. Nothing else can be done in this course until you have done that. It doesn't matter if it says to do on the side. If you haven't opened up that module, you won't be able to access it. So be sure you have done these things, okay? And the lab document is just a document, so you just have to open it, okay? So don't stress too much about it. Then we have the chapter module. This is Unit 1. And it'll have chapter 1. You'll see it has chapter 3. You'll see it has chapter 2. You'll see, and there's a reason they're in those orders. It just makes more sense that way. But anyways, cool. And they're all segmented that way with all the assignments that are associated with them that way. So you can just pop through. If you were to click on this link right here, chapter 1, Intro to Micro, which I didn't do and didn't make a thing for it. But let me show you. Maybe not, because I have like a brain fart or something. There we go. It's really slow. So if you were to click on that link, It will open it up right away. So there's a video here, and this one's just a video. Other ones have like a video and like text all around it to explain and everything like that. So these are all videos that I've taken recently from in class. So sometimes there will be parts where I'll be writing notes on a board and explaining something. So if you aren't getting something and you want more explanation, you can always contact me, and we can see what we can do to help with the explanations of things. But yeah, so keep up with that. Watch it double time if you want to. I don't care what speed you watch it at, as long as you're getting the info. Okay. That's where you get those videos. Then you have the PowerPoint that goes with it, the Kahoot, the activity evidence, chapter 1 quiz, and the extra credit. So something we'll notice, yeah, you have to read all that stuff from the other one, is this study sheet thing at the very, very top, Unit 1 study sheet. Your number one most important thing that you have in the course. Okay. I'll go over it in a moment. You'll see this is divided up in chapters, and the Kahoot link will take you to the Kahoot, like actual like quiz that you'll do. And then you'll take a picture of that screen and post it in the evidence, all participation points. Okay, study sheet, your golden ticket, you'll only be tested over the information on the study sheet. However, the caveat that people have a problem with, you have to understand it well enough to apply it. So what do I mean? There's a statement on chapter 2 area that says amphipathic means it has both hydrophobic and hydrophilic qualities, and that's all it says. So wow, so what does that mean to you right now? What does hydrophobic mean? What does hydrophilic mean? In what context should you understand this? Is this ever going to come up again in the future? You might think like, oh, that's just chemistry review. We're not actually going to get ready. I use hydrophobic and hydrophilic all the time in this course, as well as other chemistry concepts. If you didn't do well with chemistry concepts, I don't mean the equations and all that. I mean the concepts, the thought process part of it. You're not going to do well in this course. That's just how it is. So there's a lot of chemistry in microbiology, and I use it a lot because go figure, you stumbled into a biochemist's lab here. So you're going to be needing to learn all that stuff. But cool. So that, I mean that you need to be able to understand the stuff on the sheet. Don't just memorize the words that are there. Don't just make flashcards out of these words and that's it. You will not do well on the test. Understand them. Okay. So this is the layout of the study sheet. So you can see it here. You can also download it from Unit 1. And you can see quite clearly chapter 1 doesn't have a whole lot on it, but if you look for chapter 4, there's quite a lot more. So that's not even all of chapter 4. It goes on to the next page. But these are the topics that I would want you to learn. And most of this stuff is going to be stuff that you have never seen before in your life. I know most of you guys probably couldn't tell me the difference between a bacteria and a virus. Most of you guys probably couldn't tell me the difference between a gram-positive and a gram-negative bacteria. And that is a basic concept in this course. And we'll learn it. That's what this is here for. I'm just telling you it's a lot of stuff that we've never seen before. So be prepared for that. It takes a little bit more back strength, if you will. Just a little bit more effort than people expect. So be ready. So you'll click on that Kahoot link. That's the study sheet. That should be everything. You're operating off of that. Okay. Understand all of it. I did condense hundreds of pages of textbook into 44 pages. So you're welcome for that. But yeah, that's what I got for you. And all the lectures focus on that. They should be focused on that. There's a couple that go off a little bit, but I'm not going to say it. Okay. So, right. So it should take you to this, and then you join the game. It says enter nickname. Any nickname you want to use is fine. Better if I know that it is you. But if you are embarrassed and you don't want people to see your score, I understand, but just be sure you send me a screenshot. Okay. So that's all it is. Anyways, we'll get started and you'll get a question like, how do we define microorganisms and whatever. And you would select the right one, which would be, too small to be seen by the naked eye. And then you'll get your result and you'll screenshot that and post that into the activities. Okay. There's also a module for lab documents and worksheets. So this is where you'll find those worksheets that we saw on the schedule. And there's lab safety documents and all that on there. The course materials is supposed to be how you get onto Top Hat for the lab. It's also supposed to be access to McGraw-Hill. Like I said, we don't have the assignments through them, but that is where your textbook is. Right, so we've got a little bit of time. So we're gonna go over the studying and learning tips really quick. I have a lot of students that come in here and I've been like, oh, I've been an A student the whole time. And they haven't taken a course like mine yet, which is largely applying knowledge. It's not not memorizing. Memorizing does not get you far in this course. So applying knowledge is what we do in my course, and even people who have had A's their whole life, they have a hard time with it because it's just not what they're used to. So we're going to go over some stuff beforehand so that hopefully it helps you with your exam. I'm going to just shoot you into the darkness. It's also part of why I'm going to go over this to try to give you your best shot at the exam. Probably not going to listen to me. That's okay. Do what you want to do. And then you'll do poorly on the first exam and then realize maybe you should have listened. That happens. I don't know. I hope that you do well on everything, no matter what. Genuinely. So, anyways, if you were to think about the difference between studying and learning and be able to explain what is the difference between studying and learning something, or do you think there's a difference at all? Well, most students say studying is going to be like learning flashcards and recalling information, whereas learning is being able to know something well enough you could explain it to somebody else, like you're familiar and comfortable with it, right? So maybe that's the difference. Do you tend to study more or learn more whenever you are preparing for an exam? Do they have to be mutually exclusive though, whenever you're doing it? Of course not. How overwhelming does it feel to think about learning instead of studying to you? And are you sure you know what you need to do to learn effectively? Most of my students don't. They never learned how to learn. If you go into a test and you take the test and you are having this back and forth on your choices and you're like, oh, I don't know, oh, but they said something about this. And like, oh, but that one time they said this and then this and that and the other. And, oh man, okay, well, we'll go back to I'll change this answer, blah, 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 blah. It's the number one problem my students have. Genuinely, it's typically because they are not actually comfortable with the material. Because if you really knew it and you were really comfortable with it, you wouldn't have any anxiety about it and you would know the answer and you wouldn't be questioning it. But they call it test anxiety. But it's just because you didn't learn how to learn. And it's not on you at all. That's why I'm trying to help you here. But I promise this is not me making something up. Okay. Right. So if I give you a choice coming up on exam one, the choice between studying as hard as you can, as hard as you know how to study for exam one and making your A on it that way, or just presenting unit one to your fellow students. Instead of me presenting it, you present it. And I don't also like come in and supplement. No, you have to present all of it the way that it should be presented. Which one would you choose? And most people choose the studying because they're more comfortable with it. It's familiar territory. They want to employ strategies they already know how to use. But if you've been using these strategies and in some cases maybe not been getting you the best grade every time, even though you study harder, you're still doing the same on something. How's that going to help studying harder? And if you weren't studying the hardest you possibly could before, then why weren't you? You know what I mean? Like just that stuff. So teaching, you have to teach somebody. You don't want anybody to think you're an idiot when you're teaching them. You want all your peers to do well on the test if they're relying on you, and you want to know it well enough that you can answer questions. But how do you think I learned this information? Now, I came from industry, and I've already told you that. I didn't teach before this. I didn't teach microbiology, and I definitely didn't care about all of microbiology, and I didn't know anything about the parasites, but I'm going to talk to you guys like, I was born talking about them. But I had to learn. I didn't just read the book and memorize it. I learned it while I taught. And I'm telling you that it's one of the best ways you can learn. So have you ever had to explain something to somebody else only to realize you didn't know what you needed to know? Has anybody asked you ever a question about how to do a job at your work, and then they asked a question about what you're explaining and you didn't know the answer? Of course, this happens to everybody, everywhere, all the time, right? Of course it happens. So if we are doing this in our class and applying microbiology, if you don't know the info well enough, You might catch that while you're rehearsing, or I say rehearsing, but doing your studying and your learning. You might catch it while you're presenting to the class. But most of the time, people aren't doing those things. Most of the time, people aren't doing anything to rehearse their understanding of something. They're just doing flashcards and regurgitating that information. So they don't know that they don't understand the topic until they take the test. Because what I'm going to ask you isn't what is amphipathic and then a little checklist necessarily. The kinds of questions that I might ask you there might be some questions like that, but other questions might be something like a 35-year-old male walks into your ER with a stiff neck. He's had a fever for a few days and he's very sensitive to the light, it seems, and he's got a rash. Which of the following diseases are the most likely cause of this? And the answer, I would say diseases, then the disease would be meningitis. And then if I were to say, okay, well, what bacteria is causing it most likely, given these symptoms? Neisseria meningititis. And you would know that, but you'd be able to apply that. But if you can't figure it out by applying that, because that's not on this necessarily, it might say, meningitis has these symptoms caused by this. But if you can't use that material, then why are you learning it? Right? So that's what they want you to get that idea of, start applying, using this information that you're going to be learning in microbiology about these pathogens, disease-causing organisms, and really getting it, really understanding it. So when you see a patient come in with a rash and with a stiff neck and with sensitivity to light, you're like, I know what this is. Gram negative, I bet you anything. So you would know. Because that's the first thing they're going to do. They're going to take a spinal tap and they're going to look at it with a gram stain 100% of the time. So I know this because I worked in a hospital lab. But like, you need to know it like that, not spit me out the definition. Okay? That's what I'm getting at here. All right, so Bloom's, that brings us to Bloom's taxonomy. You should be thinking about this when you're doing your studying. Most people stay in this, remembering. So if you're defining something, you're duplicating something, you're listing something, you're memorizing something, you're stating something, that's just there at the very, very bottom. Next up, we have describe, discuss, explain, identify, select, translate. You might be touching that a little bit in your studies, but probably not into implementing, solving, and demonstrating and operating. I don't mean solving like solving a math equation. That's not what we're talking about here. We're using the knowledge that we learned about this to solve a problem. So if we had said this man came into your ER and he had these symptoms, and I said, which of the following antibiotics would you prescribe to him? Then, which is something we're going to learn, then yeah, that sort of stuff. That would be applying that. Taking it to the next level, because we definitely don't talk about the specific antibiotics for meningitis, but you'd have to be able to pick out from the antibiotics which ones would be better to use. Yeah, anyways, you get what I'm saying. So let's go through Bloom's taxonomy just really quick so you can understand how it works. Okay, Goldilocks breaks into a bear's house. I don't know why she's going into a bear's house or why a bear has a house, but here it is. She eats everybody's food. She sits on their chairs and she sleeps in their beds. They're either too hot or too cold or too soft or too big or too small or whatever. Right? And they're like, girl, get out of our house. And that's that. So she's scared. So the idea here, remembering, list the items that she used, right? The porridge, this chairs, the beds. And understanding, explain why she liked that chair better than the others. Demonstrate what is the next one for applying. Demonstrate what Goldilocks would use if she came to your house. So actually going through it and like showing it and walking through that. And this isn't like, so when I'm talking about this with Bloom's taxonomy, you started the bottom one, that's fine, but thinking your way through the understanding or just thinking your way through the applying, those are good, but do it. Like actually get up and move your butt and go do the thing and say it out loud. Explain what you're doing out loud or write it down. That was okay, but don't just think through it in your mind because that's not something to rely on when the exam comes. So do more. Talking something through is always better than any of those other things. Don't just write it down, right? Okay, so here are some metacognitive strategies to think about. Always solve problems without referencing an example or a solution. So that is to say, if you're doing quiz 1 and you get to something that you don't know the answer of, don't just ask your buddy for the answer. You're not learning anything, right? Look up for yourself. That's what it's saying. Actually go into the material and find it because you'll learn stuff that way. Memorize everything if you're told to memorize it. So terms, you better know the meanings to them, right? Ask why, how, and what about everything that you're learning. Because if you don't understand everything about that you're don't know what's going on with my mind today. If you don't understand it all, then there could be a question about the parts that you don't understand on the test that require you to think about it that way, that you might not do well on the test now. So take the time to understand it. Do you understand it well enough to teach others? But more importantly, do you understand it well enough to teach me? If I ask you to sit down here and explain to me how your immune system works, you better be able to explain it, that sort of stuff. And yes, that's the thing we're going to learn about. We learn about a lot of stuff in this class. So do you understand it well enough to teach your professor, right? That's one start. And well, what would you do differently if you were teaching me instead of just studying? And start applying more of that. On a scale of 1 to 10, if we were to look at how you have been studying in your other courses, how you've done in your other courses, and how much effort you've put in your other courses to get A's, how confident would you be to get an A on the microbiology exam? Do you think you have to study more, the same, or less? Do you have a science background? Because that's going to help a lot. And how much time do you usually put into studying before an exam? If you're one of those people that's like, oh, you know, it's 10 o'clock at night, I guess I better break out the study sheet and start going over that and start listening to the lecture videos on double speed. And I've got to the exam tomorrow. You ain't going to do well in this class. I'm not kidding. Some people think I'm not being serious. They think I'm just being mean to try to scare people, but I don't think I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. Okay, so here's some study skills. I'm not just going to leave you guys in the wild and be like, oh, this class is hard. Good luck. So I'm going to help you guys out here. Good note taking. All right, good notes, right? Rewrite the info that you're watching on the screen. So if I'm lecturing, rewrite it in your own words. Don't copy down word for word. Rewrite it in your own words in a way that you can understand it, right? That's good notes. Do not ever copy. Okay, don't copy exact words coming out of my mouth. Don't copy what I'm saying in the lectures. Don't copy what is in the PowerPoint. Do not copy directly what is on the study sheet. Do not copy your own notes. If you're just transferring words into words, stop doing that. Literally, I'm not kidding. Stop that. It's a waste of your time right now. Okay, do not do it anymore. It is a waste of your time. You might think it helps with memorization, but you know what helps more with memorization? Flashcards. Stop copying. It's not good for anybody. I don't care if you think it works for you. I promise you that there are other things that work better. All right. You can make flashcards from the lecture, like while I'm talking in the lecture, make flashcards from the things that you don't know or that you don't understand or that you know that you're going to need to study more on. Go through this and make flashcards out of it in your own words. Yeah, that's fine. In your own words, right? That's the best part. In your own words, always. If you come across something in here, you're like, I'm going to make flashcards from this study sheet. If you come across something in here and you know, like number one, microorganisms need a microscope to be seen. Do you need a flashcard for that? I hope not, because I don't think you do. So don't make one. Why are you wasting your time making flashcards on stuff you already know? Don't do Quizlets. Just say no to Quizlets. They're just flashcards. They are. Okay. If you want to use them to test your knowledge, that's okay. Go through your own flashcards and learn the material and then go do the Quizlet to test your own knowledge. But people are just going through those Quizlets like over. Okay, take the test. Like you're gonna learn anything. Now what you've done is expose yourself to these words in these sentences in these exact formats. Now, when you read my questions on the test and they're written differently and written in other words that you haven't studied at all yet, people get anxiety from that. And now suddenly their whole mind just blows. And I mean, this happens to so many people, most, and I mean most of my students, okay? They think they have test anxiety. And what it really is they didn't study properly. They didn't learn. That's not test anxiety. So please let me help you with that. Stop doing the Quizlets like that. That is just word repetition. How does that teach you about how these things work? So I'm going to help you a little bit. So if you make flashcards in your own words, I don't know why I stopped there. You create that and then have your pile and you go through it. And, you know, the ones that you know, set to pile 2, and the ones that you don't, you just keep going over, right? So after you've gone through your flashcards, the ones that you didn't know, it might be a lot at first, stay in box 1. The ones you did know, move to box 2. Cool. The next day you come back, go over box 1 again and move them back to box 2. Okay. As you know them. Same thing. Well, what about box 2? Do you go to that day? It's the next day. You go back to that one too, right? No, you do not. You leave it there because those are the ones you knew. You don't need to spend as much time on that, honey. So you leave it. You can come back to it the next day, 2 days later, and go through those. And the ones you knew from box 2, move it into 3. The ones you didn't, move back into 1. Okay. Great. Now we've got a whole third box. We go to that one the next day, right? No, you do not. That goes every week, 1 time a week, or maybe right before you go to the test. That stuff you already know. You don't need to keep going over it, but you might want to refresh. So you keep it in box 3. The goal is to get everything in box 3, but you got to make it there first. You got to earn your spot. And if you go in box 3 and you go through it and you didn't know it, it goes back to 2. That's the rules. Okay. So that's the Lightner system. You can split it into more boxes if you want, or whatever you want to do. I don't care. Follow your rules. It's your learning system, but this is my recommendation for how to actually use flashcards without just beating words into your head repeatedly. So cool. So that's flashcards. Great. Understand your study sheet, go through the bullet points. Just simply read through it and make sure you understand each one, right? Make sure you actually understand it and don't move on to any other thing in studying until you understand each bullet point for that chapter. That's the goal. So yeah, it says, be sure you understand every concept in each bullet, the example that it has. If the statement is, the eukaryotes lack a true nucleus and were the first organisms on the planet. What does eukaryote mean? Do you know? Because you could read that and be like, okay, the eukaryotes, they lack a true nucleus. If I were to ask you on the test, you know, did eukaryotes have a true nucleus? And you might be able to answer that. But what is an eukaryote and what is a nucleus? Okay. Eukaryote, it doesn't have a nucleus. What is a nucleus? A membrane-bound structure that contains the genetic information of that organism, that cell. Okay. We'll go over that. You don't need to know it now, but you get the idea, right? Don't just see the sentence and leave it there. Understand it. You can create outlines, brainstorms, and flowcharts. Organize the information that you learned from your mind. Don't just copy one. Just set it out from your own mind onto your own brainstorms or whatever. Okay. Teach somebody else. We've already talked about, teaching somebody, knowing something well enough to teach me. Turns out it's one of the best ways to learn. So teach a classmate, a coworker, your kid, your parent, your significant other, the guy next to you at the bar. I don't care, right? It's also good to do it to stuffed animals, pets, walls, your steering wheel, if you're just in your car and you want to test your knowledge about it and like go over the information. Right. Do it verbally, actually out loud. Don't just think through it. Out loud, out of your mouth. Yes, actually do it. It's that action, that difference of just not just thinking through it, but actually spitting it out of your mouth and having to put it into words. That's what really helps, solidify things and helps with understanding things in your mind. I promise you. So even if you miss something, you can go back through your notes afterwards or review and be like, oh yeah, I forgot to mention blah, 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 blah. That's okay. Next time you'll do it. Or you can just go ahead and do it now or whatever. And then the very, very best thing you can do, maybe make a whole PowerPoint presentation and present it to like your, study group or whatever. Get all that together, get your ideas together and really work on that for each chapter maybe. Or you could like exchange, like you do chapter 1 in your study group, the other person does chapter 2, whatever. I don't know. But yeah, so here's my study summary, Lightner flashcards with the little boxes that you're going to switch through. That will help with remembering things, understanding concepts, going through those bullet points to understand them literally, making sure you understand the concepts. Helps with understanding. Outline, flowchart, brainstorm, applying and analyzing, putting things in different categories and relating them to one another and thinking about how that should go. And then presenting, applying, or all the way up to creating, depending on how much detail you want to get into with the presentation. So that is your Bloom's taxonomy set up for you right there. And I know it seems like a lot. I know it probably seems overwhelming. Pick some stuff that'll work for you. It doesn't have to be all of it all at once. It might be too much. That's okay. Just do something. Don't just lean on copying notes or Quizlets, please. So, and don't do it just the night before, right? So, and you'll be fine. I promise. Most of the time, one of the things I forgot to tell you guys, and this is the honest truth. people in the 8-week courses, even the summer courses, tend to do better than the 16-week because you know what to expect, that you're gonna have to work. So don't worry, you'll probably be fine. I just want to be sure that you're as prepared as you can be, and I want to be here to help you do the best, not just in my class, but in the future going forward from my class. So, because that's how I look at it. Yeah. So contact me if you have any questions or concerns or anything. I'm not going to see you. Like I said, the next class, we're going to be meeting on Zoom again. So, I apologize for that, but yeah, it is what it is. So anyways, yeah, any questions? 'Cause that's pretty much it for me. All right. Well, email me if you need anything, or if you're having any problems. You're gonna have problems with Top Hat. I'm just apparently. So I'm just letting you know, I'm aware of that. We're working on it, and I'll let you guys know as I know things. But yeah, let me make sure I got everybody here. Oh yeah, I already clicked out of this. Never mind. All right. Is Rachel, did Rachel ever show up? Click through this. I don't see. No, it doesn't look like it. Okay. All right. That's it. So I will post a recording of this. I know it's not necessarily helpful, but I'm going to post it anyway. Anytime we have a Zoom meeting, I usually post it. So if there is something that you want to see again, you can. So, all right, guys, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to kick you out of here, and I'll see you. I won't see you on Zoom tomorrow. How about that? How about that? All right.